All right. I think we are live. Let me make sure. I'm going to pull it up real quick. How about? Are we live? Yep, we are live. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. Before we get into LSU football, because that is what we're talking about today, LSU beat Southern 65 to 17. Obviously, we knew the result of that. LSU coming in, obviously the better team. Southern's we didn't expect Southern to come in and really give us a game. But the Saints game, oh my goodness. I'm not here to talk about the Saints game. Obviously, I'm trying to focus on LSU before I ever start to branch out. But I mean, that first half almost reminded me of like the LSU first half against FSU. Was just like we couldn't get anything going on offense at all. Jameis Winston looked like scary bad, and I was just like, okay, I mean, what is this team going to be? Jameis couldn't really get anything going, and it scared me for a while, but I think he had 220 yards in the first half. I mean, in the second half, towards the end of the game. During halftime, I actually went and grabbed something to eat for lunch, and I'm like, I just really couldn't watch the game. It was just like it was bad, and we changed tempo in the second half and towards the end of the second half, and Jameis just went off. You had Michael Thomas 2 touchdowns. Jarvis Landry had that big catch towards the end of the game. Will Lutz with what was that? I forget what how long that field goal was. Was it in the 60s or 50s? It was a long field goal. Will Lutz hit it. He missed a field goal, like a 43-yard field goal or 40. I can't remember in the beginning of the game. But what a crazy game. And I mean, Jameis Winston, 220 yards. I think he went 14 for 15, 13. I forget because you have to count the 2 spikes in as well. But but a crazy game, and just blew out expectations. Sorry. I'm tweeting this out, making sure everyone knows I'm live. But yeah, a crazy game. You were expecting the Saints to win. Obviously the Falcons, proved us wrong in the fact that this wasn't an easy game for the Saints at all. I mean, great defense on the Falcons. They showed up for sure. Marcus Mariota hasn't played in for. I honestly forgot about Marcus Mariota. I mean, he hasn't played in years, or started in years at least. So he had a pretty good game, an okay game. I'm sure the Falcons will be a pretty good team this year. Cordell Patterson, huge game for him. I mean, the beginning of that, I mean the first half, I mean he was just running through Saints defense, and he was scary. I actually had him benched on my fantasy team. So I was like, okay, he did all right last year for the Falcons. So I was like, I'm gonna bench him, see how he does, and he did very well. The Saints' run defense just disappeared, like halfway through the first half or something like that, and we stopped the run at first, and then it just caught up to us. We couldn't stop it. But yeah, so that was a crazy game. Again, I'm not here to talk about the Saints, but a crazy game. Thank God we clutched it. I mean, what is it with Louisiana teams And yeah, I gotta rep the Saints. But what is it with Louisiana teams and trying to give us heart attacks? I mean, that LSU game, obviously FSU, everyone was like that last drive, and then just then with the Saints. I mean, crazy. Jameis Winston goes off, clutches. Michael Thomas is back. I mean, I was screaming to the top of my lungs when Michael, because he's on my fantasy team. He's starting too, so I'm like, not only did I want him to do good because I'm a Saints fan, but I was like, he has to do good for my fantasy team. So yeah, Saints win it, 27-26. They win by 1. Crazy game. So now we're going on to LSU. Not much to really commentate on as far as LSU football. I mean, you're playing an inferior team as far as Southern. They're not really anything that you had to worry about. Better though, even though Southern was not definitely not as good, nowhere near a team like Florida State. LSU looked a lot better, and that's good to see. You had some changes at O-line. Dellinger moved. Where did Dellinger move? I think, didn't he move to left guard or something like that? I can't remember. But yeah, so you had some. I think they're trying out a couple things on O-line right now. I'm not a huge O-line. I need to do a little bit more study and film study when it comes to that, because I don't pick up on O-line and D-line as much as I'm watching like the big players, the quarterback, the running backs, the receivers. So I need to start getting better at that. But so sorry, 1 second, I'm just making sure. So yeah, we just see much improvement. Jaden Daniels did had a I don't want to say spectacular first quarter, because you are playing Southern, but he looked a lot better, more comfortable in the pocket. Made some throws where he was like, maybe I might run, and then he thinks at the back of his head, okay, I'm gonna deliver this pass, and he did it. Butte more involved this game, which a lot of LSU fans were wanting to see. But yeah, you play Southern, right? It's like a little practice game, as I said in the beginning of the week. It's more of like a scrimmage almost, even though it's a real game. And it kind of gets you ready for the next game. You're able to try some things out against a team like Southern. Obviously, you put 65 points on them. Probably could have put more if you wanted to. So they get you ready for a Mississippi State team. I'm gonna make a video. I'm gonna be live on Wednesday morning, and I'm gonna make a video talking about Mississippi State, because I didn't watch the Mississippi State game last night. I was exhausted from that game yesterday. I went to the game, tailgated. That sun was brutal. There was a lot of people. Tons of people showed up. That's the most people. You don't even see that many people for like Alabama games and Florida games and stuff like that. There was just so many people. Like just gobs and gobs of people. But it was good to see two Baton Rouge teams playing together. Some people before this game was like, why is this the first time LSU plays Southern? And you see why it is, because that absolute annihilation, not even close. It was almost looking like LSU was playing a high school team. We put 37 points in the first quarter. It was 37 zip in the first quarter. Were insanity. But and now to get to like the quarterback. So the quarterbacks, you got Nussmeier, Daniels, people, a lot of people, especially last week and during the game, FSU game, were like, why aren't they trying Nussmeier? Why aren't they putting Nussmeier in? Nussmeier's better. Nah, he can pass more. He makes the better passes. And for that Southern game, you see why. You see why there was a QB battle, right? I mean, where was that QB battle? It might not have been much of a battle, really, because Nussmeier, 2 picks. One was a pick six in the second half. It was terrible. Like, the first pick he had, it wasn't like he threw it to a receiver, tipped off the receiver's hands, a pick. No, he threw it right into the cornerback's hands, and it's just like, there's no room for that, especially against a team like Southern. They weren't playing FSU. You're not playing Mississippi State. You're playing Southern, and there's just no need for that. It's just a stupid decision, right? And then the first drive they put him in, it was 3 and out. That was the first 3 and out all the game, and it's just like once they went 3 and out, I was like, maybe I'm seeing why Jaden Daniels is the starter. And then he has that pick, and then in the second half, instead of just throwing the ball out of bounds, taking your field goal, he kind of like shovels it off straight to the defender's hands. Defender takes it back 80, 90 yards, however it was, for a touchdown. And that's their first, Southern's first touchdown in the game, and it was on defense. It was pick six, and you hate to see stuff like that. I mean, just terrible and bad decision making. And I don't think Nussmeier is a terrible quarterback at all means. I think he can make it happen. And if he's not making stupid decisions like that, he might even be able to make it happen more than Jaden Daniels can as far as passing. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is just so athletic and able to use his feet. He scores the first touchdown of the game on his feet. Just a talented, athletic player. He shows you how he can use his feet, but he's got to be careful because when you get to SEC defenses, it's a little, like, you're not going to be able to use your feet as much, and if you do, you can make bad mistakes, either a sack, fumble. Those SEC defenses are brutal, and they're not going to be as forgiving as a Southern defense was, right? So definitely a lot of improvement from Jaden Daniels, though. I like to see him passing. I think he can make those crazy, a defensive lineman comes in, almost sacks him, he spins off of it, rifles one in the end zone to Jack Bech. He makes plays like that, and that gets me excited because you need a quarterback who can shake off tackles and just be in there, ready to deliver a throw in the run, and I like seeing that from him. But yeah, so not much to talk about. Again, special teams improvement looked a lot better. Kickoff, Southern receives the receiver for the ball, drops, fumbles the ball, big hit. LSU has the ball. Jaden Daniels scores a touchdown. So made all of our extra points. Special teams looked a lot better. I forget who we replaced Neighbors with. Number 26. I haven't even heard of him. So I need to look at that. But yeah, so Neighbors was not kick returning. Yeah, those 2 drops against the FSU game. We saw Harold Perkins with a lot of tackles. I think he had 8 tackles. So he was replacing Ojolari, who was out. Let's see. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm looking at my notes. So yeah, Garrett Dellinger moved to left guard. Miles Frazier was at right tackle. Cam Wire, was out. So yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna try to pay attention more to the offensive line, but they did make some shifts and some movements. I think they're gonna revert back to the original offensive line that we had against FSU. Dellinger's gonna go back to center. Cam Wire's probably gonna come back in. So yeah, I think we're gonna revert. I think we're just trying things out right now. But yeah, we'll see how that changes. I'm gonna look at my film study over the next week before the live on Wednesday and really kind of break it down. I'll probably talk a little bit about Southern game, but it'll be more talking using the lineup for what I will think will happen in the Mississippi State game. But yeah, so gotta watch the Mississippi State game. Rewatch some of that LSU game. I'll probably just look at the first half because nothing really that important happened in the second half. So yeah, but crazy things happening in college football yesterday. Texas almost upsets Alabama. That was a crazy game. I remember looking and seeing it was like 10-10 in the first half, and I'm like, what? Wait, it's 10-10. What a close game. Alabama wins 20-19. Texas could have won and almost should have won if you think about it, because they had that missed field goal before the end of the first half. That could have won them that game, but Texas surprising everyone. Alabama though not looking like an Alabama team, right? As good as you can say Texas did, and they did do well. Alabama just didn't look like an Alabama football team. I didn't watch much of the game, but that was just crazy to me to see Alabama almost lose. After being such a highly talked about team, you think when you think college football playoffs, all you're thinking about is Alabama and Georgia. And with that iffy game, you're like, okay, is Alabama the team to go into the final for the college football playoffs? And Texas quarterback, who was the starting quarterback? Was it Hudson Card? Is that him? I forget who it was. I think it was. Let me make sure. Yeah, Hudson Card. I was watching him a little bit because I was like, I was at LSU when that game was going on, and I was kind of like peeking at TVs and seeing how he was doing. He looked very, very good, like phenomenal. Who was that? Was it Worthy or forget the guy's name that he was targeting like the whole time? It's like that one receiver. Was it Murphy? I can't remember it. He was just targeting that one receiver the whole time. I think it was Malik Murphy. But they were just going back to back. But yeah, that was a close game. I might even go back and rewatch that because I didn't watch a lot of it. And then Texas A&M was to Appalachians. When I saw that, because we were in, I was in Tiger Stadium when when I got the news that Appalachian State won. That was just crazy. Like I said last week, I said this. Texas A&M did not look good. I said they were going to lose more than one game, and I was right. They just didn't look good last week, and they didn't look good this week. I wouldn't be surprised if Max Johnson is moved to starter. So we'll see what happens with that. So that I mean that was just a crazy game. And then Notre Dame loses to Marshall. That was I didn't watch any of that game, but the fact that Texas A&M loses, makes me happy. You're always rooting for SEC, but I think Texas A&M is one of the most overrated teams right now, or at least not right now anymore. Probably a few weeks ago they were, and now you see, now that game for LSU looks a lot more winnable than it did just a few weeks ago. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. If LSU can implement this improvement, you got to see the offense now. You got to see what we're looking for. When Jaden Daniels was getting rushed almost every play against the Florida State team, against Florida State's football team, you in defense, like you didn't get to see what our offense can do. And now that we had like a more calm, relaxed game against Southern, you actually got to see what our offense could do and like what we were working with. We got a lot of good receivers. You got Butte, you got Neighbors, you got Johnson, you got Besh, some really good receivers. And they're kind of easing Besh back in because he had a little injury this summer, towards the end of summer. So they're easing him back, but he had that touchdown in the back of the end zone when Jaden Daniels was being rushed. So you still have some to improve on. We will really be able to see how this LSU team is going to be for the rest of the season when we play Mississippi State, and not that Mississippi State is just a really good team, but they're an SEC football team, so they're obviously not going to be bad. So we'll see how LSU fares up against their first SEC opponent, and that ought to be exciting. But yeah, so you had that. I don't think I missed it. This is going to be a short stream for today, and there's not really too much to talk about. A lot of upsets, obviously, but I'm still trying to get better at this. By the way, for anyone seeing this, hopefully I am. Hopefully there's some been improvements from the last couple videos I've made. So I'm trying not to say by the way, I know I say a lot. It's just kind of me trying to transition sentences, but I'll get better at that as well. So yeah, and I just did it again. Crazy weekend. Saints win. I was glad to see them win. I hate the Falcons. So exciting day. Now that the Saints did win, that was just a crazy game. I mean, that game had my freaking heart beating the whole time, and the Saints came back in Saints fashion. They were down by like 16 at one point, so the fact that they came back just is crazy. But Jameis Winston looked very good. So yeah, we'll see how they. I might do a couple videos here and there talking about a little bit about Saints football, but for now I'm gonna keep it towards LSU. Oh yeah, Baskerville. I want to talk about Baskerville. He looks phenomenal. I love seeing him make plays. He had a block punt, interception. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but Baskerville looks really good, and that's like a breath of fresh air to see another good DB for LSU who will make plays happen for you in the future. So on the lookout, who does Alabama? Let me pull that up. Who does Alabama play next week? Football. So they play Monroe, then Vanderbilt. And then, so the next good game is on October 1st against Arkansas. I mean, Alabama has a pretty lenient schedule. Like your first game's against Utah State. I mean, not, and then you play Texas, a pretty good team. And then LA Monroe, Vanderbilt. Yeah, I mean, so we'll see how they fare against Arkansas October 1st. That's like a um I mean Arkansas also defeated South Carolina yesterday. Um so that's going to be a good game to watch at Arkansas, Alabama. I'm excited for that one. Um that could be like a game day game. Think about it. Arkansas, South Carolina, yeah. 44-30 takes down South Carolina. So Arkansas plays Missouri State, and they'll play Texas A&M on the 24th of September. So wow, so Arkansas, if they beat Texas A&M, and then they're playing Alabama, I mean, I won't be surprised to see Arkansas top 5. I mean, at least top 5, staying in the top 10. Maybe top 8 by the time they play Alabama. That'll be fun to see. I mean, that would be a game day game right there. Yeah, so that'll be exciting. Right. As much as I looked at this LSU schedule, I still forget like when we play Tennessee. So we play Tennessee October 8th after the Auburn game. So we play October 1st against Auburn. So our after we play Mississippi State, that I don't know how Mississippi State will go. I really don't. I'm not the one type of person to predict things because I hate predictions because they can be wrong all the time. I mean, you see it with Texas A&M and teams like Texas A&M, Alabama, etc. I don't like predictions, but if we do beat Mississippi State, then you play New Mexico, and then you play Auburn. I think we're gonna be Auburn. I haven't really watched any Auburn, but they're not the usual Auburn team you're usually used to seeing. And then you play Tennessee, and that's gonna be one of our biggest games of the year, as far as competitiveness, especially if this LSU team can improve and become something great. That's gonna be a good game, and I can't wait to see that. So we'll see. So yeah, I don't think going into this, even before the game, I knew there wasn't gonna be much to talk about. It is Southern, so I think I hit all the points I wanted to make. There's gonna be more to talk about next week when you play Mississippi State. So I'm excited for that. That's your first SEC opponent. So we'll see how Brian Kelly fares up against that. He gets his first win in Tiger Stadium. As kind of sucky of an opponent as you're playing. And I don't want to say sucky because I would say inferior. As inferior of opponent you're playing. The crowd was electric. It's just a good environment being back. Being back on campus for an LSU football game. Even for me, so I'm a freshman at LSU now. So being able to sit in the student section, it's you're looking at the field from a different perspective, and it's crazy. It feels like I'm at a different stadium almost because I'm not used to sitting there and being in that environment. But it was crazy. I love it. I really do love it. So I'm excited for the future games, especially when you're playing better opponents. That environment is going to get even more and more crazy.